When I first saw him, he was just a dog sitting under an old bridge. Nothing special, just still and silent. But then I noticed the bandage on his paw, faded, worn, like it had been there for years. And when he looked at me, it wasn't like looking at a stray. It was like looking at someone waiting for an answer no one else had cared to give. Welcome to Saved by Tales. Before we begin this powerful tale of dog loyalty and quiet courage, tell me in the comments, have you ever rescued an animal, or has one ever rescued you? Share your story below. And if you believe stories like this need to be remembered, hit that subscribe button, like and share. Lena was the kind of girl people called too quiet. She didn't talk much in class, never raised her hand, and often stared out the window even when the teacher called her name. But her mind was anything but still. Inside it was always racing, picking apart the cracks in walls, wondering why trees bent certain ways, and remembering things others forgot. She didn't have many friends, not since they moved to the village after her dad lost his job in the city. Their house sat near the edge of town, close to where the woods thickened, and the paths twisted into forgotten trails. And just beyond one of those trails was the bridge. It was an old railway bridge. Stone-built, moss-covered and cracked with time. No trains had run across it in decades. Children whispered it was haunted. Teenagers used it for dares. Parents warned their kids to stay away. Too dangerous, they said. Too old. But no one ever said why. Lena had always been drawn to it, not because of the danger but because of the stillness. It felt like the kind of place that remembered things no one else wanted to. And it was under that bridge, late one October afternoon, that she saw him for the first time. She was riding home from school, backpack bouncing, leaves swirling beneath her bike tires. The air smelled like cold rain and distant wood smoke. She glanced toward the bridge out of habit, and there he was, a dog, massive, still, a German shepherd, fur streaked with gray and black, sitting perfectly upright beneath the shadow of the arch. He wasn't sniffing or searching, just watching the river, watching the trees, watching her. Lena stopped her bike without thinking. The tires skidded slightly in the wet leaves. She placed a foot down, heart thudding for no reason she could name. She stared at him, and he stared right back. Not with fear, not with excitement, with recognition, like he'd been expecting her. She left her bike by the trail and approached slowly. The air was cooler under the bridge, echoing and damp. Each of her footsteps sounded louder than the last. The dog didn't move, didn't growl, didn't blink. Only when she got close enough did she see it. One of his front paws was wrapped in cloth, old, stained with dried blood and dirt. The bandage was too loose now, frayed around the edges. "You're hurt," she whispered. The dog tilted his head, just slightly, and that was the moment something inside Lena shifted. She didn't feel afraid. She felt called. That night, at dinner, she couldn't stop thinking about him. The way he didn't flinch, the way he sat like a sentry, guarding something invisible. Finally, she asked the question that had been burning inside her. Who does the dog at the bridge belong to? The clatter of silverware paused. Her mother looked up, face gone still. Her father's shoulders stiffened. "What dog?" he asked. "The one that waits under the railway bridge," she said, trying to sound casual. Silence fell over the table. Then her mother, in a voice almost too quiet to hear, said, "No one owns that dog." Lena frowned. "Why not?" Her father's face paled. "Because that bridge is where your cousin Anna disappeared." The name dropped like a stone into Lena's chest. She had heard the name before, in hushed tones at family gatherings, in photos that were no longer displayed, in the tension that fell whenever someone asked about the girl with the braids. Anna, 11 years old, gone before Lena was born. One day, she walked home from school and vanished. They'd searched everywhere, her parents said. Flyers, dogs, news crews, but never a trace, never a clue, until now. That night, Lena couldn't sleep. Her mind buzzed with too many questions, and the image of the dog sitting beneath the bridge burned behind her eyes. So at midnight, when the house was quiet and the moon glowed pale through her curtains, she slipped from bed. She didn't even put on shoes, just padded through the grass in socks, each step silent and cold. The air was damp with fog, the forest whispered, and when she reached the path, he was there, exactly where she left him, waiting. But this time, he wasn't still. He was digging. His paws scraped urgently at the stones near the bridge's base. Not random, not panicked, purposeful. Lena knelt beside him. Her hands trembled as she brushed away the earth. Her fingers hit something soft, then firm, a strap, a buckle. She pulled, and up came a backpack, faded pink, torn at the edges. Lena stared at it in the moonlight. Her breath caught, stitched across the front in crooked hand-sewn letters. Anna. Lena's hands shook as she unzipped it. Inside were old-school supplies, a pencil case with cracked plastic, a notebook with the corner pages chewed away by time, and a photo. A girl with long brown braids and a shy gap-toothed smile. Lena's cousin, someone no one had spoken of in years, someone everyone had quietly given up on, but not the dog. She looked at him. He sat back again, calm and steady, as if to say, finally. Lena didn't sleep that night. She curled up in her bed with the backpack beside her, the notebook pressed to her chest. She didn't cry, not because she wasn't scared, but because something bigger had taken root inside her now. A knowing, a duty, a voice that told her she couldn't let this be buried again. She had to keep digging, just like him. The next morning, Lena barely touched her breakfast. Her parents glanced at each other, but no one said much. After school, instead of riding straight home, she rode her bike back to the bridge. Her backpack, Anna's backpack, was hidden safely in her closet, but she needed to know more. The dog, Echo, was already there, waiting in the same spot. This time, Lena brought him a sandwich wrapped in wax paper. She set it down carefully in front of him. "You must be hungry," she whispered. Echo sniffed it once, then gently picked it up in his teeth, and set it aside like it didn't matter. Instead he stood, turned toward the same spot beneath the pillar, and started digging again. Lena dropped to her knees beside him. Her fingers scraped at the dirt alongside his paws. At first, just stones and mud, but then, something harder. She brushed away more dirt, until her knuckles hit solid rock. Her flashlight beam flickered over rough stone carved with deep lines, letters. At first she couldn't tell what they said, but as she cleared away more earth, she saw A. Will to you, 2007. Lena's heart pounded. Anna's initials, the year she disappeared. Her breath caught in her throat. This wasn't just where Anna had been last seen. This was where she'd been left. Lena sat back on her heels, staring at the stone like it might speak. Echo let out a quiet sound beside her, a low, deep whine, soft, steady, like he'd been waiting years for someone to see it. That evening, Lena made a decision. She told her parents everything. They sat in the kitchen as she pulled Anna's backpack from under her bed. Her mother's face went pale. Her father's hands shook. "Where did you find this?" her mother asked in a whisper. "At the bridge," Lena said, "under the stones." Her father's voice broke. "That's not possible. They searched. We all searched." "No," Lena shook her head. "They didn't dig." Silence stretched between them like a wall too high to climb. Until finally, her mother whispered, "I always wondered. I always felt like there was something missing." The police arrived the next morning. Uniformed officers, detectives, people with gloves and cameras and measuring tape. Lena led them to the bridge. Her parents stood beside her, and Echo, silent, steady, sat beside the pillar, his amber eyes watching everything. The officers dug carefully this time, measured, scanned, until beneath the stone marked with Anna's initials, they found bones, small, fragile, wrapped in the tattered remains of a jacket, one sleeve stitched with pink thread. Lena's mother fell to her knees in the grass, hands covering her face. Her father pulled her into his arms. Lena couldn't move. She only stood there, one hand resting gently on Echo's fur, because Echo didn't move either. He just sat, like he always had, like he always would. By sunset, the bridge was surrounded by police tape. The village gathered in small knots of whispers. People said things like, "I always wondered. I remember when she went missing. I never thought." But Lena already knew. Anna hadn't just been forgotten. She had been waiting too. After the discovery at the bridge, the village wasn't the same. For years, Anna W.'s name had been a sad story people whispered about but never really expected to solve. Now it was real. And so was the dog, Echo. The news vans arrived within 2 days. Lena watched them from her window, rows of bright lights flashing against the quiet stone houses. But she didn't care about the cameras. She only cared about Echo. The police brought Echo to the station at first, unsure what to do with him. He sat in a corner of the lobby, calm, still, not barking, not growling, just waiting. The vet checked him the same afternoon. "There's no chip," the vet said, frowning gently. "Nothing in the database." But when the vet lifted Echo's front leg, she paused. A scar, running from the base of his paw halfway up his leg. "It's an old injury," the vet said. "Years old, possibly from a canine training accident." One of the officers leaned closer. "I think I've seen him before." Lena sat quietly in the corner, her hands in her lap. The officer returned with an old photograph, a black and white image. A police canine unit lined up in front of the station, and there, sitting proud beside a young handler, was Echo. The same scar on his paw, the same steady amber eyes. "He must have gone missing years ago," the officer said. "After Anna's case went cold, No one knew how Echo had ended up back at the bridge. No one knew why he had waited so long, but Lena knew. He had been waiting for her. When they told Lena Echo might be sent to a shelter, her whole body tensed. She stood up, voice quiet but clear. "He's my dog now." The officer looked at her parents. Her father rested his hand on her shoulder. "She's right." That evening, Lena and Echo walked home together. The village was quieter now. A plaque had been placed at the bridge, in memory of Anna Wall, and the one who never stopped waiting. Over the weeks that followed, Lena and Echo became inseparable. At school, people whispered about her. "That's the girl with the bridge dog." But Lena didn't mind. Every afternoon she and Echo walked the long way home through the woods, not because they had to, but because they understood something most people didn't, that some things, some promises, should never be forgotten. Spring came early that year. The air smelled like new grass and wood smoke. The village slowly returned to its quiet rhythm, though things felt different now. Lena could feel it in the way people spoke softer when they passed her family in the market, or in the way someone always seemed to pause just a moment longer at the plaque by the bridge. But for Lena, the most important thing hadn't changed. Every morning she woke up to find Echo curled at the foot of her bed, and every evening they walked together, sometimes along the river, sometimes back to the bridge, not because Echo had to, but because it felt right. One evening, as the sky turned gold and violet, Lena's father leaned against the kitchen doorway. "Why do you always go back there?" he asked quietly. Lena didn't look up from her notebook. "Because it's where I found him." That summer, Echo's story spread beyond the village. News stations ran segments titled things like, "Bridge Dog Solves Decade-Old Mystery," "The Dog Who Never Stopped Waiting." Lena didn't care about the cameras or the interviews. She only cared about the quiet things, the sound of Echo's breathing beside her chair, the feel of his fur beneath her fingers, the way his tail wagged slowly whenever she came home. One particular evening felt heavier than the rest. The air was still and warm. The sunset painted everything in golden light. Lena and Echo sat by the bridge as they always did. She traced her fingers along the stone plaque again, in memory of Anna Wool, and the one who never stopped waiting. Echo rested his head on her knee. His eyes were closed, his breathing slow. Lena pressed her hand gently against his collar, the old metal tag still there. "Echo," she whispered so softly only he could hear, "you can rest now." That night, Echo curled up beside her bed, and when morning came, the room was quiet. Too quiet. Lena woke up and felt it before she saw it. She reached down, and Echo didn't move. Tears came before she could stop them. Her parents came running. The whole house went silent. But Lena didn't let go of him, not until the sky outside turned gold again. Echo was buried at the edge of the bridge, right beneath the willow tree where Lena had first truly understood what he'd been waiting for all those years. A second plaque was placed beside the first. "Echo, the dog who waited and found." Lena visited often, not because she was sad, but because she knew some heroes don't wear uniforms. Some heroes don't have names in books. Some heroes just wait until someone is brave enough to follow. And thanks to Echo, Lena would always remember how to listen for quiet things, how to notice the ones who wait in silence, and how sometimes the ones we love find their way back to us, even if they walk on four legs.